Hello and welcome to our Today All Day Pride special. Pride is universal, better together. I'm Joe Fryer. In the next half hour, we're going to highlight stories affecting the LGBTQ community. Stories of hope, healing, and inspiring individuals making this world a more inclusive place. We begin in Memphis with the story of Kayla Gore. While homelessness is a national issue, finding safe shelter can be difficult, especially for transgender individuals. Kayla's organization is hoping to change that by building houses and putting more than a roof over the heads of those in need. Take a look. It's a city known for its barbecue and blues, but just minutes from the hustle and bustle of Beale Street, Memphis, Tennessee is also home to a vibrant yet vulnerable transgender community that faces social and economic challenges.
We're in the Bible Belt of the South, and it's a red state in terms of housing access and discrimination, employment access and discrimination. There's no real legal protections for trans people.
Nationally, 1 in 5 trans individuals is said to have experienced homelessness at some point in their life, and nearly a third live in poverty. Those figures are even higher when you account for race.
I was born and raised here in Memphis, Tennessee.
When Kayla Gore was just 23 and newly transitioning, she experienced homelessness while living 1,500 miles from the city where she grew up.
It was very, very scary.
After returning to Memphis, she entered a transitional housing program and began working with Out Memphis, the local LGBTQ community center. During that time, Kayla says she started to see a lot of trans and queer people kicked out of their homes at the age of 18, some rejected by their families. While there are services for individuals experiencing home insecurity in Memphis, many are faith-based.
There's lots of anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, and more importantly, a lot of those shelters are separated by sex assigned at birth. You're forced into a situation of either outing yourself or staying closeted in an environment where you could be incredibly unsafe.
There's also a lot of trans folks of color here, so then you also kind of double down with racism. They have a lot stacked up against them.
The pandemic exacerbated that. A survey by the Trevor Project found last year more than 80% of trans and non-binary youth said COVID-19 led to a more stressful living situation. Hoping to change that, Kayla, who'd been able to purchase her own home, which she shared with others who found themselves experiencing homelessness, founded My Sister's House.
We wanted to provide like a space where people can thrive and they can actually start to grow and heal the trauma that they had, experienced in their youth.
Originally a word-of-mouth program, My Sister's House aimed to provide emergency services and shelter to trans and queer people of color.
It's for us, by us. Like, it's trans people at the helm of it, and it's from a perspective of someone who's been there. I was homeless as a youth, so I remember what it was like being vulnerable.
As My Sister's House evolved, so did their mission. Now the group is aiming to build 20 homes for trans women in Memphis.
It's safe to say that I did not come from a background of building houses or working with plumbing and electrical, but it is safe to say that I came from a family that had really love and compassion for the community that they live in.
Originally planning to build tiny homes, they're now renovating existing homes because of the rising costs of everything, including lumber. Using a lottery of individuals they've previously helped, recipients get more than a shelter. They actually own the house.
It's a different feeling when you have your own place.
Jeanette Adams moved into her home just a few months ago.
It's a tiny house, but it's big to me.
Jeanette had been living with her mom and has a supportive family, but being able to live on her own has boosted her confidence.
I felt free. A lot of people, especially trans women, we don't get a chance to own anything.
Kayla says that's exactly what she's hoping to provide those selected to receive a house.
Trans people are boxed out of economics in so many different ways that we have to build our own economics. This is how people built generational wealth 100 years ago, where their families had small homes. So it's nothing new that we're doing. It's just that we're doing a unique thing for a community that really deserves it.
Just a couple miles from Jeanette's home, crews are replacing the electrical system at another property.
This will be our 5th house that will be occupied.
Modee James will soon call this 2-bedroom home her own sanctuary.
I'm ecstatic about it because it would be mine. It would be my home, not my house.
Modee says she does not feel safe in her current living arrangements.
I've been trying to get a home on my own. They take you to the ringer, and they expensive. I feed nothing, and I live nothing but poverty. I'm trying to overcome it.
LGBTQ advocates in Memphis say My Sister's House is giving people more than a place to live.
It also created visibility and hope and inspiration for the trans community and for trans people of color here in the South that just wasn't there before.
If I had the opportunity to receive the resources that we provide today, I couldn't imagine what my life would be like.
Kayla hopes to expand and replicate what My Sister's House has done in other cities. She also hopes the program has something of an expiration date.
I would want the legacy of My Sister's House to be that we came, we conquered, and we disappeared because we no longer were needed.
My Sister's House operates mostly through donations and grants. A GoFundMe for the group has generated more than $300,000. Kayla says they have a goal to build and renovate 20 homes by the end of next year. Coming up, Craig chats with the sole openly gay professional baseball player in the league. Plus, this cattle ranch has become a social media sensation for its grass-fed beef and the queer farmers behind the brand. Stay with us. Baseball, America's favorite pastime. We might sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game, but it's a profession that only has one out player, Brian Ruby. Craig recently caught up with Brian to hear about his experiences as a gay professional baseball player and how his dad's support has made all the difference. Take a look.
Meet Brian Ruby, the only openly gay professional baseball player in the United States. Brian first came out publicly last season while playing independent baseball for the Salem Kaiser Volcanoes in Oregon.
I decided that I'd come out to my teammates last season by lacing up with rainbow shoelaces during Pride Month. I considered it more like inviting in than coming out. Yep, this is who I am.
You threw me one curveball.
Brian's dad, John, whose last name the family would like to keep private, was Brian's high school baseball coach and, as to be expected, has always been his son's biggest fan.
When did you know that Brian was going to be a baseball player?
Something clicked around 6 or 7, and he got passionate about baseball, and we were always on the baseball field.
John had some success of his own on the diamond, playing Division I ball as a pitcher at the University of Pennsylvania and then overseas in Australia. That experience led him to have some initial fears about his son's baseball career when Brian shared his plans to go public about his sexuality.
In your heart of hearts, did you think it would change his opportunities?
I was worried about how he would be perceived in that world. There were a million things running through my mind, but what I wanted him to know in that moment was, I'm good, and you're good.
And he wasn't just good, he was great. After tying up his rainbow laces and coming out to his teammates and the public overall, Brian's batting average skyrocketed a full 90 points.
So what was it like last season?
I don't know if I'm going to get applauded when I run onto the field or if I'm going to be in the batter's box and get hit by a 93-mile-an-hour fastball in the head. The real thing that happened was I got a hit, my first at bat, and got on base, and the pitcher tipped his cap, and I just gave him a little tip back, and that peer-to-peer on-field recognition was by far the most meaningful thing in the game of baseball.
And Brian's not only talking openly about his own story, he's also co-founder of Proud to Be in Baseball, an organization that supports and advocates for ball players of all ages who are looking for gay mentors in the sport. Brian's work with Proud to Be in Baseball has taken him around the country to attend pride events at a number of MLB ballparks. In September of 2021, he was invited to sing the national anthem at Dodger Stadium.
Oh, say, can you see? In addition to being quite the baseball player, you're a budding country music star.
All the best things come out of left field when you are who you are and do what
I always loved country music. And I've been writing songs. I always have my guitar on the road during baseball, playing on the team bus.
I mean, which do you enjoy more, baseball or country music?
I got to be careful because the basebal coaches.
No, you're good. You're good.
It sounds like it's neck and neck.
Look, you can only be a baseball player for so long.
It's true. I would imagine, Dad, you have to be quite proud.
What I'm most proud about with Brian in general is he just goes for it. What do you want to see from your kids? You want to see them thrive.
I mean, you know that's a testament to good parenting, too. I mean, that's what I hear.
When we come back, the spotlight is on LGBTQ youth and the generational shift of coming out in this digital world. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now we focus on the future and the advances the next generation is making when it comes to coming out. I sat down with 5 students at the University of Central Florida to hear about their experiences with coming out. Take a look. They're called Gen Z, but many young adults proudly embrace 5 other letters, LGBTQ.
I'm a lesbian.
I'm gay.
I'm bisexual.
I'm transgender. I'm queer.
A recent Gallup poll found that among Gen Z adults, those between the ages of 18 and 25, about 21% identify as LGBTQ. 21%. That's 1 in 5.
When you heard that number, what was your reaction?
I really wasn't surprised. Our generation isn't really scared to actually say that we're part of the community and we're actually proud of who we are.
With the help of Campus Pride, a national group supporting LGBTQ college students, we gathered this group of Gen Zers: Eddie, Nick, Marcus, Sierra, and Mary. They go to the University of Central Florida and are part of the first generation to totally grow up in a digital world.
Social media, how important was that to you when you were younger?
Oh, social media, it was like everything to me because it really helped me form a sense of myself.
I remember writing in my diary as a kid that I had a crush on a boy just over and over and over, just to pray that eventually I'll convince myself that I do. And I got introduced to these online communities, and I finally saw, oh, wait, I'm not a freak. There are people out there who feel the same way that I do, and that realization saved my life.
And I don't want to add more stress to your day, but I love you.
They could also see themselves reflected in traditional media, movies, and TV shows.
Growing up and seeing even the smallest bits of representation in like LGBTQ plus characters and everything of that sort is just made me feel, like not alone. And it made me feel like kind of understood.
And perhaps no endorsement had a greater impact than the one delivered by the Supreme Court in 2015.
Now to that historic Supreme Court decision legalizing same-sex marriage across the land.
All of it creates a sense of belonging that mental health experts say is vital.
The messaging that Gen Zers have is like it's okay to be who you are and to love who you love and to talk about that and celebrate that.
A majority of LGBTQ Gen Zers say they're bisexual, and among those 5 letters, a growing number of young people identify as queer, which is perhaps most simply defined as not straight.
I present as a boy, but I love pink or I love like feminine things, but at the same time I could also like masculine things, and I don't need to be in that set like binary.
For your generation, it's easier to come out than, say, my generation, but it's not easy, is it?
No, definitely not.
For me, coming out was always sort of like bouncing off a brick wall and bouncing off the brick wall and bouncing until eventually I can make a dent.
I feel like there's this huge disconnect. Oh, being queer is like a trend, but these are people's identities. These are people really putting themselves on the line and putting themselves in a place where they could be in danger.
All of them grew up in more conservative communities in Florida. It's a state that's making headlines this year for passing legislation that prohibits classroom instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity for many younger students.
We're going to make sure that parents are able to send their kid to kindergarten without having some of this stuff injected into their school curriculum.
What critics call the Don't Say Gay law.
Now you're just trying to control and minimize us and just kind of shove us back even more, but I think it only just kind of makes us push back harder.
So when you look at the future, do you have optimism?
Yes, definitely.
We have always been here, and now we are saying we're here. We are letting the world know that we accept ourselves, we love ourselves, and we're not going to back down.
One major reason it's easier for younger people to come out, society is more accepting. 70% of Americans now approve of same-sex marriage. And here's a really important stat about acceptance. LGBTQ youth who have at least one accepting adult in their lives were 40% less likely to report a suicide attempt. According to Harvard's Life in Rural America surveys, less than 5% of the rural population identifies as LGBTQ. But Bastrop Cattle Company is working to change that. The grass-fed beef brand has taken TikTok by storm, amassing millions of views and likes about their grass-fed beef while influencing a new generation of farmers within the ranching community. Take a look.
The first video that I made ended up going viral for about 9 million views on TikTok, and it's just me yelling at cows. Normally me being sassy with them because some of them are just real troublemakers.
Come on, girls!
I did not expect that people would be so interested in just a gay man yelling at cows.
That gay man is Max Kremke. He, along with husband Brandon Raisler and Patty Jacobs, own Bastrop Cattle Company.
This trio is changing outdated stereotypes of cattle ranchers. Their farmhouse is even pink.
I think that rural Texas gets painted with a broad brush, that it's going to be intolerant or traditional. I get the sense from a lot of people in certain areas that they don't see that many gay ranchers around. And it is really interesting because everybody's been very warm and accepting.
There are some decent numbers of women that are going back into farming and ranching. And there's always been kind of a history of women ranching in Texas.
I'll be nice.
The ranch has been in the family since 1970, and I grew up here.
Patty left the ranch for 2 decades after college, but then decided to come back home, taking over the family ranch in 2006. Patty and brother Cleve transitioned it to an entirely grass-fed operation.
The calves are born here. So the majority of the animals have always been here their entire lives. They're really bred to live on this ranch and get the most out of the grass that we have here.
As Patty and Cleve were growing their herd, Cleve died of lung cancer in 2013. Patty needed more hands to run the farm.
I ran for office and met Max's husband, Brandon. And pretty soon Brandon was helping me with the business, even though we lost the campaign. And we just kind of grew it from there, and then Max came into it about 3 years ago.
City boy, never ever thought that I would be living out in rural Texas.
Hey Elijah. Hey big boy.
I met my husband about 11 years ago, and he was from a small town, and I'm from Austin. We immediately fell in love. We knew that we were the right one for each other, and it was so interesting because he's always been really passionate about cattle ranching.
Bastrop's cattle are raised without hormones or antibiotics on chemical-free pastures. The trio selectively breed the animals to thrive in central Texas, from enduring drastic weather changes to scavenging for local plants.
And we call our cows hustlers because we expect them to hustle. They eat the grass, but they also eat the oak leaves, they eat cactus.
The labor-intensive process yields beef that is well marbled and tender despite the cow's grass-only diet. For nearly a decade, Bastrop sold most of its premium meat to restaurants, but demand shifted radically during the pandemic.
We had to pivot within a 2-week period to 100% direct, and then we were backed up 6 months.
We didn't know if we could ship beef. I was delivering all of the beef myself.
Now we're in a completely different area. We're boxing it and we're shipping it, and we could get it anywhere in Texas in 2 days.
Max's background in film production and marketing helped support their new venture. He built a new website and launched a social campaign targeted at a new demographic.
A lot of places that we saw do kind of like what I'd consider to be like man meat. We actually kind of chose to go a different way on ours by being more inclusive in terms of our brand language and how we try to appeal. We try to direct it more towards the woman in the household because they're the ones who are going to be making the decision about what goes in that freezer. Customers really love knowing where their beef comes from, and so they keep on coming back, and we're happy to have them.
But it's not only sales that have grown for Bastrop. Their ranch is famous on TikTok. Max's TikTok account has more than 4 million likes. He's hoping to inspire a new generation of more diverse farmers by sharing his love for agriculture.
You my sweet, sweet boy. You let me rub around on your horns. You let me go under the chin.
Whenever somebody's like, oh, you really inspire me as a gay man doing this, which I'm not trying to do that. I'm not setting out to be like, I'm an icon and a hero for being a rancher. What I think is really important is just trying to normalize that idea, normalize the fact that it's not just one type of person that's involved. It's everybody is invited. All of the women, the gays, everybody else getting involved in agriculture is actually providing a lot of new energy and new innovation.
Unlike Max, Brandon prefers to stay out of the spotlight and focus on caring for the herd. The trio built a business that feels more like a family.
We kind of take care of each other and believe in the same sort of ethics and moral.
Patty hopes that Max and Brandon will eventually take over the business, as the two share Patty's vision of farming her family's land for years to come.
There's something special about this. It's not just that I'm a woman and he's gay. We want something that we can feel comfortable with, that we can steward on through and continue doing it, where it's a brand that you've heard about for a really long time and you know that you can depend on it.
Welcome back. From lipstick to eyeshadow, beauty products allow users to feel like better versions of themselves. And now the world of beauty is more expansive with the rise of gender-inclusive beauty brands. Take a look.
For years, the beauty industry has marketed products towards an exclusive audience.
So how come you're putting lipstick on?
The girl's always got to look her best.
But now, gender-inclusive beauty brands are redefining beauty standards beyond the binary.
When we speak about gender inclusivity and gender-expansive identities, what we really mean by that is that anybody can express any aspect of their self as they'd like regarding gender.
Laura Kraber was inspired by her experience as a parent to create We Are Fluid in 2018.
I've just been so inspired by the young people who are leading a societal shift and creating a more expansive understanding of gender identity. I just felt like now was the time to create a brand that was welcoming to people of all skin tones, all gender expressions, all gender identities.
Laura was onto something. 69% of Gen Z and millennials are looking for more brands that offer gender-inclusive products, according to a report from YPulse, a youth marketing research company. Now, many are turning frustration into fuel to start their own beauty brands.
I was inspired to create Dragon Beauty after being a little frustrated that the beauty industry wasn't reflecting someone like myself as a trans woman in the marketplace. I feel like beauty really needs to match the world. The world is colorful and people come in an array of a spectrum and in different sizes, shapes, ethnicities, you name it.
Patrick Starr created One Size to encourage kindness and expression.
It's important for me to share the voices of the unseen and the unheard in my community because once upon a time, I was one of those customers. I was scared to buy makeup. I felt like I was going to be judged. I felt like no one was going to accept me. The One Size brand mission is to represent everyone through beauty. Makeup is a one-size-fits-all.
To keep up with high demand, these brands are shifting their focus to incorporate inclusivity and representation, from products to marketing and beyond.
We really need to champion those that are unconventional and different.
I think we're all tired of seeing the same type of model again and again. I think we're living through a moment where that is really changing, and I think in 10 years we'll see even more change.
For me, it's so important to have trans models, to have models of color, to have a workspace that reflects the room that I want to be in.
For these founders, personal experience led to products that are changing the world of beauty for the better.
I was wanting to look in the mirror and see the woman that I felt inside. These beauty products really helped me find who I was and have always been my protective armor in facing the world.
I wasn't born like this. I didn't get to wake up like this. But if I can put on a little bit of sequins and lashes and lipstick, I can really feel confident in being who I really want to be. And that's for everybody too.
Through their efforts, gender-inclusive brands are redefining what beauty should be and reminding the world how beauty should make you feel.
Thank you for joining me this half hour to celebrate Pride is Universal. I'm Joe Fryer. We'll see you next time on Today All Day.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.